Yo, welcome to the No Pick Show where there's no hand holding. We do with facts, not emotion. I'm your host, Chedda Chaz. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. YouTube isn't the best for sending out notifications, so it's very important that you click that bell so you can know when we go live, when we have new episodes, things of that nature. So today, I think I figured it out. And I didn't totally figure it out on my own. Shout out to my dog Alvin, Blank Canvas Entertainment. Be sure to check out his channel. He got a really dope show, doing a lot of great things over there. But I think the Pelicans are setting themselves up potentially to go after Domantis Sabonis. Now, with the Kings' pursuit of Jonathan Kuminga falling through, it kind of sets them up to just do a total rebuild. They're going to have some trouble moving Zach LaVine. DeMar DeRozan, he's getting a little older. Maybe he wants to go on his ring pursuit. And you're looking at Domantis Sabonis' contract at about $42 million. He's viewed around Sacramento media as a negative asset. He's viewed probably just as bad of an asset as Zach LaVine currently, given, that player archetype not really performing well in the playoffs. The Sabonises, what's my homie name? Sagoon. That finesse European big, power forward center kind of hybrid player, not really showing up and showing out in the playoffs. So around Sacramento media, he's viewed kind of negatively. Like, yeah, he's a cool guy. It's cool to have him on the roster, but not for $42 million. So for the Pelicans, a person like that in this market, that's another distressed asset. You just took on one distressed asset with Jordan Poole. Why stop there? Why stop there? Go pursue another one, especially when you look at how this team is configured right now. One of the biggest holes on this roster, one would say, is at that power forward / center position. Depends on if you view Sabonis as a power forward or a center. I would personally play him at the power forward, and I would have a rim defending center at the 5. Sabonis, you already know, double machine. About 3 years left on his contract, including this year, starting at $42 million, it ends at $46 million. I don't think he getting traded no time soon, personally. Now, there might be a team with some championship aspirations that say, hell, fuck it. We just gonna go into the luxury tax. Let's just trade for him. We got 1 or 2 years to figure this out. Let's just do it. Like, if it's like the Celtics or a team like that just want to throw everything at the wall and just trying to win before they ultimately break that team up, I can see that. But other than that, I don't really think he has a broad, list of suitors personally. And it goes deeper than just the Pelicans wanting Sabonis because he fits a position of need and he's pretty dominant at that position from an offensive standpoint. It also goes to the connections that current GM, or I'm sorry, I guess you call him executive of basketball operations, Joe Dumars, has with the Sacramento Kings. He worked with the Sacramento Kings for about a year or two, if I'm not mistaken. He also has some connections with their current president, Scott Perry, who supposedly he was connected to for potentially taking on a position with the New Orleans Pelicans. And Joe Dumars, in one of his recent interviews, he spoke out and said that he actually rejected a position with the Sacramento Kings because he wanted to come home to the New Orleans Pelicans. Now, the connections don't stop there. One of Scott Perry's first hires was B.J. Armstrong. When Joe Dumars was hired with the New Orleans Pelicans, before B.J. Armstrong was hired with the Sacramento Kings, his first interview was on B.J. Armstrong's podcast. So there's a connection there. Of course, B.J. Armstrong played with the Bulls. Joe Dumars played with the Pistons. So they faced each other a couple times for sure in the past. So there's some history there. There's a rapport there. And Troy Weaver, you throw Troy Weaver into the mix. Troy Weaver loves centers. He loves power forwards. He just loves bigs in his words.
I know there was a lot about, we were collecting a lot of centers. Absolutely. I love bigs. People always say they want the opposite. Guards want to be bigs want to be guards. I love big guys. I believe that's the way you win, by controlling the backboards. I welcome all the center jokes because I do love centers. And last time I checked, the two teams here with the Pistons that were good, they had a bunch of bigs, whether it was Buddha, Mahorn, Lambeer, to Ben Wallace, to Okor, to Rasheed Wallace. They had a lot of bigs, and guess what? We're gonna have some bigs as well.
He's really a fan of those larger front court players. I think Sabonis will be a home run swing for the Pelicans, considering, like I mentioned before, that Herb Jones extension. With that Herb Jones extension, you have to be good now. It puts you in position to be good now, because Herb Jones making $20 million on a bad team doesn't make sense for anyone. You got 3 years left with Zion. You got about 2 years left with Poole on his contract. Sabonis has 3 years. Trey Murphy has what? This will be the first year of his extension, if I'm not mistaken. So Trey Murphy has about 3-4 years. Everything is linked together. And of course, you got Jeremiah Fayers and Derek Queen on rookie contracts. The reason why it makes sense for the Pelicans, because I know some people say, well, we just signed Kevon Looney. They just drafted Derek Queen. Yeah, but Kevon Looney is on an expiring contract. It's a team option. Kevon Looney, I'm a fan of him, but he's aging. He's getting up there. So you'll probably be moving on from Kevon Looney as soon as next year, if not this season, if you don't, trade him as an expiring. And you stay for Derek Queen. I don't mean Derek Queen can't get minutes. Derek Queen, he's probably not going to start out the gate, but you don't want to throw these rookies or these young guys into a disadvantageous position. And if you keep in Willie Green doesn't necessarily play rookies. But you don't want to throw these guys into a disadvantageous position. Also, Derek Queen is supposed to miss, the start of the season with his hand injury. So hopefully he recovers quickly and he can contribute when he's healthy. But yeah, you got guys like that on rookie contracts. You got Michael Peavy. I don't know if he's necessarily a foundational piece, but he's on a rookie contract. So this starting lineup, this hypothetically, you got Trey Murphy, Zion Wilson, Jordan Poole, Domantis Sabonis, and let's just say you want to put Kevon Looney there. So I know what you're thinking. Where's the spacing, right? Now, Domantis Sabonis can shoot. He just doesn't take a lot of shots. He doesn't take a lot of shots from beyond the arc, rather. So if you can get his average up to about 3 or 4, and you got Jordan Poole out there still. You got Trey Murphy out there. You got Zion. He's a monster getting to the rim. You got Kevon Looney to set screens and clean up the boards. And, of course, you already know what Domantis Sabonis does on the board. Like I say, he's a double-double machine. So I think that's a formidable offensive lineup. You're going to have some issues defensively, but that's when guys like Zion, when he's locked in, when he's focused, he can be a solid defender, solid to good. Trey Murphy, he made some strides last year. You just need Jordan Poole to be solid, need Domantis to be solid, and Kevon Looney, he's a classic just defender. Like, he's not a rim, a block getter. He's not a shot blocker. He's a rim deterrent. He knows how to get vertical and defend the rim without fouling. But I definitely think that's something that the Pelicans will be very interested in. Why the Sacramento Kings do it? Well, it's time to blow this team up, man. I mean, traded for Zach LaVine, didn't work. You ended up losing De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio for pennies on the dollar. As Domantis Sabonis gets older and that contract gets, the money increases, he's not going to become more valuable. It's probably best to move him now. The Jonathan Kuminga thing looks like it's not going to happen. Yeah, things could change. Realistically, things could change. Maybe the Warriors just say, all right, let's take them. It's over. But for now, you're looking at an aging roster with a lot of guys who may be overpaid. Against Zach LaVine, he's making over $40 million. DeRozan, he's making quite a bit of money. I already told you, Sabonis making 42. Is that a play-in team? It's a playoff team. It's certainly not a championship caliber team. So if you're the Kings, it's like how long you want to keep running out different iterations of this same failing project. So I definitely think it makes sense for them. Now, the deal I'm proposing, if I'm the Pelicans, I'm offering DeJounte Murray. Now, hear me out. Like, why would the Kings take back an injured guy? Just hear me out. DeJounte Murray, Jordan Hawkins, and Jose Alvarado. The Bucks 27 swap, the rights to the Bucks 27 swap, and a future top 8 protected Pelicans pick. Now, here's why I think that's a good deal for the Sacramento Kings. For one, DeJounte Murray, he's making significantly less money than Domantis Sabonis. If you're rebuilding, you're really not trying to be that good anyway. You're going to go ahead and take on his contract at $30 million. I think it goes up to maybe like 32, something like that. There's only 2 years left. Whereas with Domantis Sabonis, you're looking at paying him $44, $46 million for the next 2 years. So it's like, it makes more sense to take on less money if you wanted to, sign some rookies or overpay a guy or two here or there to come on and use his trade bait later. Jose Alvarado, he's a $4.5 million with a player option for next year. He may be expiring. He may decline his player option so he can go out and probably get a longer term contract. And also you have Jordan Hawkins, who's a $4.7 million expiring, because next year he'll be making $7 million, and I don't think anyone's going to pick up that option. So he's expiring. So basically, you could be clearing the books of close to $12 to $13 million next year. You could get an extra $12 to $13 million next year, just based on that deal for the Sacramento Kings. Yeah, the Sacramento Kings, they aren't known as a free agent destination, but teams like overpay guys and trade them later all the time. Like that was the Detroit Pistons plan. It just didn't work out this year. That's why they brought in a guy like Tobias Harris, because they designed his contract to trade later. But I think in the mid-season, because all this is contingent upon how the Pelicans look in the middle of the season. In the middle of the season, as the deadline is approaching, if the Pelicans are looking good, if things you're looking good, like we a 6 seed, you know what I'm saying? We seeing some potential. Maybe we 4, maybe we 5, but we seeing some potential here. We think we can take it to the next level. The Kings, they not looking too good. You know what I'm saying? It's about time for them to pull the plug. What's happening with Sabonis? I already told you about the connections with Joe Dumars, Scott Perry, and BJ Armstrong. It makes all the sense in the world if you ask me, because in this avenue that I just proposed with DeJounte, Jose, Hawkins, and 2 firsts, again, you're giving them a first to take on DeJounte, and you're giving them a 1 first for Domantis Sabonis, because I believe Domantis Sabonis' contract is a negative asset at this point. But if you do that, I really think the Pelicans could make some noise in the playoffs. I think that's a team that could win a series. Of course, it's matchup dependent, but they would have the talent to win a series. But again, the Pelicans got to be good. They got to be, they got to have a real shot to do something. They got to be looking impressive in December, going into January, close to that deadline. And the Kings got to be, looking bad. The Kings got to be doing what the Kings typically do. So I think that's something very interesting. Also, if you do it this year, you can avoid the luxury tax. If you do that trade I propose, you avoid the luxury tax. Maybe you bring on a couple minimum guys just to round out the roster or something like that, a couple two-way guys. But once you get into the playoff rotation, you're really playing 8-9 players anyway. So you're not really worried about the back end of the roster. If your rotation is, again, Sabonis, let's say Looney, hopefully you could keep Yves Missi in this proposed deal. Because, the Kings, they got a bunch of centers. And Yves Missi's getting closer to, a period where you have to pay him. I think Yves Missi is a very solid rotational big. And if you move off of Looney that offseason, I think Yves Missi can fill that void next year. But think about this rotation. You got, again, Yves Missi, let's say Kevon Looney, Sabonis, Zion, Trey Murphy, Jordan Poole, Herb Jones. That's 7 right there. So then let's just say, Sadiq Bey, that's 8. And then it's kind of whatever's clever to you. If you want to say Carlo, you want to say Derek Queen, Jeremiah Fayez. It's whoever you think going to get that final, rotational minutes, final rotational minutes. Maybe you sign a backup point guard. Maybe you bring Alfred Payton back on a vet min or on a 2-way deal just to give you some backup point guard minutes. But it's up to you really at that point. Yeah, so let me know what y'all think about that deal. I do think that's something that the Pelicans would strongly consider, given all the connections, all the dots that I just, connected and laid out for you guys. Or what y'all think? Y'all think, Sabonis is overpaid? It's too much of a conspiracy theory? It doesn't make much sense? Do you guys believe in the front court they have now with Kevon Looney, Yves Missi, Carlo, and I think Hunter Dickinson is still on the 2-way, or Derek Queen also. So yeah, what do you guys think? Be sure to tap in, leave a comment, make sure you hit that bell notification so you can know when we go live, know when we got new episodes dropping. Tap in, don't tap out. I'm out. Peace.